Young and restless, shocker, Nick Newman's revenge plan backfires. Prison awaits after targeting Matt. Fans of The Young and the Restless know that revenge rarely ends well in Genoa City. Yet the latest explosive storyline proves just how dangerous personal vendettas can become. In a shocking twist, Nick Newman finds himself spiraling into a situation he can no longer control. Nick has always tried to stay on the moral high ground, even while navigating the ruthless world created by the powerful Newman family. But when tensions with Matt escalate beyond repair, Nick makes a decision that could destroy his reputation, his freedom, and his future. What begins as a calculated revenge plan soon turns into a nightmare that threatens to send him straight to prison. The drama begins when Matt suddenly emerges as a major threat to the Newman legacy. His actions shake the delicate balance of power in Genoa City and ignite serious conflict with several key players. Nick initially tries to resolve the situation calmly. Unlike his father, Victor Newman, Nick prefers to avoid ruthless tactics whenever possible. However, Matt pushes him further and further toward the edge. Matt's aggressive business moves start damaging Newman interests. Rumors begin circulating that he plans to expose sensitive secrets connected to the Newman family. For Nick, the situation becomes deeply personal. Every new move Matt makes feels like a direct attack on Nick's family and legacy. Soon, frustration turns into anger, and anger slowly transforms into a dangerous desire for revenge. Nick convinces himself that Matt must be stopped before he causes irreversible damage. He believes that if he acts quickly and decisively, he can protect his family and end the threat once and for all. Unfortunately, his plan quickly becomes far more extreme than he initially intended. Instead of confronting Matt openly, Nick begins working behind the scenes. He gathers information, tracks Matt's movements, and secretly studies his weaknesses. The normally level-headed Newman heir begins thinking like a strategist and possibly like a criminal. He believes he can outsmart Matt, but Genoa City has a long history of proving that revenge rarely works the way people expect. Nick eventually forms a risky plan designed to destroy Matt's credibility and remove him from power. The scheme involves manipulation, deception, and a series of carefully timed moves meant to trap Matt in a scandal. At first, everything appears to go according to plan. Nick plants information in the right places. He pushes certain events into motion and waits for Matt to fall into the trap. But Nick makes one critical mistake. He underestimates Matt. Matt turns out to be far more cunning than Nick expected. Instead of walking blindly into the setup, he begins noticing unusual patterns surrounding him. He senses that someone is trying to sabotage him. And he starts digging for answers. As Matt investigates, he slowly uncovers pieces of Nick's operation. Phone records, secret meetings, and suspicious financial movements start pointing directly back to Nick. The deeper Matt digs, the more evidence he finds. Instead of becoming the victim of a scandal, Matt realizes that he has the opportunity to expose Nick's entire revenge scheme. And he decides to use that opportunity. Matt carefully gathers proof while pretending that he knows nothing about Nick's plan. He allows Nick to believe the trap is still working. Meanwhile, Matt prepares a devastating counterattack. No one understands the dangers of revenge better than Victor Newman. Victor quickly senses that something is wrong with Nick's behavior. His son begins acting secretive and unusually tense. Meetings become abrupt. Conversations end abruptly whenever business matters arise. Victor knows the signs. He confronts Nick directly and demands to know what he is hiding. Nick refuses to reveal the truth. He believes he must finish what he started, even if it means keeping his father in the dark. But Victor's instincts tell him that Nick is heading toward disaster. Everything explodes during what Nick believes will be the final stage of his revenge plan. Nick sets up a situation designed to publicly expose Matt. He believes that once the evidence surfaces, Matt's reputation will collapse, and the threat to the Newman family will disappear. However, the plan takes a dramatic turn. Instead of Matt being exposed, the evidence suddenly points straight at Nick. Matt reveals that he has been collecting proof of Nick's scheme for weeks. He presents documents, recordings, and witness statements that reveal the full extent of Nick's actions. Nick realizes too late that the trap he created has closed around him instead. News of the scandal spreads through Genoa City like wildfire. People who once trusted Nick begin questioning his judgment. Nick has always been considered one of the more honorable members of the Newman family. Unlike Victor, he usually avoids manipulative tactics and dirty tricks. But this revelation changes everything. Friends become cautious, rivals become ruthless, and the authorities begin paying close attention. Once the evidence becomes public, legal consequences become unavoidable. Matt's lawyers move quickly, presenting the case to law enforcement officials. Nick suddenly finds himself facing serious accusations. The charges could include fraud, conspiracy, or manipulation designed to harm Matt's business and reputation. For the first time in his life, Nick realizes that prison may become a real possibility. The situation spirals far beyond anything he imagined when he first started seeking revenge. The scandal sends shockwaves through the powerful Newman family. Victor Newman immediately shifts into crisis management mode. He begins working behind the scenes to contain the damage and protect the family name. However, even Victor may struggle to fix the situation. Evidence continues piling up, and the case against Nick grows stronger with each passing day. Family members begin arguing about how to handle the crisis. Some believe Nick must fight the charges and prove his innocence. Others worry that the evidence may be too overwhelming. The Newman legacy suddenly hangs in the balance. As the reality of the situation sinks in, Nick finally begins to reflect on how everything went wrong. He remembers the moment when revenge first entered his mind. He recalls every decision that pushed him further down this dangerous path, and he realizes a painful truth. His own anger created the disaster he now faces. Nick wanted to protect his family. Instead, he may have destroyed his own future. For Matt, the situation represents a massive victory. Not only has he avoided Nick's revenge scheme, but he has also turned the entire situation into a powerful advantage. By exposing Nick's actions, Matt strengthens his own position in Genoa City. He proves that he cannot be easily manipulated or defeated, and he sends a clear message to anyone who tries to challenge him. Matt plays the long game, and this time, he wins. As legal proceedings move forward, Nick faces a terrifying possibility. If prosecutors decide to pursue the strongest charges, Nick could face prison time. The thought alone shocks everyone who knows him. Nick has spent his life building relationships, businesses, and a reputation based on loyalty and integrity. Now, all of that could disappear because of one reckless decision. The biggest question now facing fans of The Young and the Restless is whether Nick can recover from this devastating situation. Will Victor find a way to protect his son from prison? Will new evidence appear that changes the outcome? Or will Nick have to accept the consequences of his actions and face the harsh reality of the justice system? In Genoa City, redemption is always possible, but it rarely comes easily. The storyline promises intense courtroom drama, emotional confrontations, and shocking revelations. Nick's battle may only be beginning. Allies could emerge from unexpected places. Secrets may surface that change the entire situation. And the war between Nick and Matt could escalate into an even larger conflict that shakes Genoa City to its core. One thing is certain. The fallout from Nick Newman's failed revenge plan will leave lasting scars on everyone involved. After the explosive scandal becomes public, life in Genoa City changes dramatically for Nick Newman. The man who once walked confidently through every room now faces suspicious stares and whispered conversations. The community reacts quickly to the shocking accusations. Friends begin keeping their distance. Business partners hesitate to return his calls. Even people who once trusted Nick completely start questioning whether they truly know him. News spreads rapidly across Genoa City's elite circles. The scandal dominates every conversation, and Nick's reputation takes a devastating hit. For years, Nick tried to build a name separate from his father's ruthless legacy. Unlike Victor Newman, he often chose honesty over manipulation. But now, the entire city sees him differently. One reckless decision threatens to erase years of trust. No one in Genoa City fights harder for family than Victor Newman. When he realizes the seriousness of Nick's situation, he immediately begins working behind the scenes. Victor understands the legal battlefield better than almost anyone. Over the years, he has survived countless corporate wars, scandals, and betrayals. However, this situation feels different. This time, his own son stands at the center of the storm. Victor assembles a powerful legal team and orders them to examine every detail of the case. He demands answers, strategies, and possible escape routes. But even Victor quickly realizes that the evidence against Nick looks dangerously strong. Matt's lawyers have already prepared a carefully constructed case, and they intend to use it. While the Newman family scrambles to control the damage, Matt begins strengthening his position. Instead of celebrating openly, Matt plays his next move with calculated patience. He gives interviews hinting that powerful people tried to destroy him. He subtly paints himself as the victim of a sophisticated attack organized by Nick. The strategy works perfectly. Public sympathy slowly shifts in Matt's favor. Many people start believing that Nick abused his influence and power in an attempt to eliminate a rival. Matt doesn't need to shout or make threats. The evidence speaks loudly enough. The scandal doesn't only affect Nick's career and freedom, it also shakes the personal lives of those closest to him. Sharon Newman finds herself caught in an emotional storm. She has always cared deeply about Nick. Their complicated history includes love, heartbreak, and countless shared memories. Now she must decide whether to stand by him or distance herself from the scandal. Sharon wants to believe that Nick didn't intentionally cross a dangerous line, yet the evidence continues to raise troubling questions. Friends and family members pressure her to protect herself from the chaos surrounding Nick, but Sharon struggles with her heart. Walking away feels impossible. Just when the situation seems completely hopeless for Nick, a surprising development begins to emerge. One of Matt's former associates quietly approaches the Newman legal team with new information. This individual claims that Matt may not be entirely innocent. According to the witness, Matt knew about Nick's plan earlier than he admitted. Instead of simply defending himself, Matt may have manipulated the situation to make Nick's actions look even worse. If this claim proves true, the case could become far more complicated. Nick's lawyers immediately begin investigating the new lead. They hope that the witness could create enough doubt to weaken Matt's accusations. However, proving manipulation in court will not be easy. As the investigation continues, Nick begins feeling the emotional weight of the crisis. For the first time in his life, he truly understands how quickly everything can collapse. His career stands on the edge of destruction. His relationships are strained, and the possibility of prison still hangs over him. Nick spends long nights replaying every step that led him here. He remembers the anger that drove him to target Matt. At the time, the revenge plan felt justified. Now it feels like a catastrophic mistake. He finally admits something to himself that he had avoided before. Revenge blinded him. At one point during the crisis, Victor confronts Nick in a private and brutally honest conversation. Victor rarely shows vulnerability, but this situation deeply frustrates him. He built the Newman empire by making ruthless decisions, but he also learned how to avoid getting caught. Victor criticizes Nick for acting emotionally instead of strategically. He tells his son that revenge requires discipline, patience, and intelligence. Nick's mistake, according to Victor, wasn't wanting to defeat Matt. His mistake was letting anger control the plan. The conversation becomes one of the most intense father-son confrontations in recent memory. Yet beneath Victor's harsh words lies genuine concern. He refuses to abandon his son. Eventually, the case reaches the courtroom. Reporters gather outside the courthouse as the trial begins. The entire city watches closely. Inside the courtroom, both sides prepare for a fierce battle. Matt's legal team presents evidence that portrays Nick as the mastermind behind a calculated scheme designed to destroy Matt's reputation and business operations. Nick's lawyers fight back by questioning Matt's motives and highlighting the possibility that Matt manipulated the situation for personal gain. Every testimony increases the tension. Every new piece of evidence could change the outcome. During one dramatic courtroom session, Matt decides to speak directly. His testimony shocks everyone in the room. Matt calmly describes how he realized Nick was trying to sabotage him. Instead of confronting Nick immediately, he claims he chose to collect proof. According to Matt, he simply defended himself against a powerful opponent. However, Nick's lawyers quickly challenge Matt's story. They suggest that Matt deliberately allowed the situation to escalate so he could later destroy Nick publicly. The courtroom becomes a battlefield of accusations. No one knows which version of the story the judge will believe. As the trial moves forward, tension grows across Genoa City. People speculate about the possible outcome. Some believe Nick will escape punishment because of his family's influence. Others think the court will make an example of him. For Nick, the waiting becomes unbearable. Each day feels like a step closer to either freedom or prison. His future now depends on decisions made inside a courtroom. Regardless of the final verdict, the damage has already been done. Nick has learned a painful lesson about revenge. Anger may feel powerful in the moment, but it often leads to consequences far worse than the original conflict. Relationships have fractured, trust has been broken, and the Newman family faces one of its most difficult moments yet. Fans of The Young and the Restless now wait anxiously to see what happens next. Will Nick clear his name? Will Matt's secret manipulations finally come to light? Or will Nick Newman face the unthinkable reality of prison? One thing is certain, the war between Nick and Matt has permanently changed the balance of power in Genoa City. The courtroom drama surrounding Nick Newman intensifies with each passing day. Fans of The Young and the Restless watch closely as the trial moves toward a dramatic climax. Inside the courtroom, every detail matters. Lawyers argue fiercely, witnesses face intense questioning, and the judge carefully examines every piece of evidence. Nick sits quietly through most of the proceedings. The once confident Newman heir now looks tense and exhausted. His future hangs in the balance, and everyone in Genoa City knows it. Meanwhile, Matt appears calm and confident. He believes the evidence is strong enough to secure a conviction. But Genoa City rarely delivers predictable endings. Just when the trial seems to favor Matt, Nick's legal team introduces a surprise witness who could change everything. The witness is a former associate who once worked closely with Matt. This individual claims that Matt carefully manipulated events to trap Nick. According to the testimony, Matt discovered Nick's revenge plan early on. Instead of stopping it, he secretly allowed the situation to grow more dangerous. Why? Because Matt believed that exposing Nick publicly would destroy the Newman family's reputation and strengthen his own power in Genoa City. The courtroom falls silent as the witness reveals details about private conversations and secret meetings. Suddenly, Matt's story no longer seems so simple. For the first time since the scandal began, Matt looks visibly shaken. Nick's lawyers press the witness for more details, forcing Matt's legal team to respond quickly. They attempt to discredit the testimony by questioning the witness's motives and credibility. However, the damage is already done. The judge allows the testimony to remain part of the record, meaning the court must now consider the possibility that Matt manipulated the entire situation. Matt realizes that the narrative he carefully constructed may begin falling apart, and the pressure starts showing. As the trial takes this unexpected turn, Victor Newman quietly watches from the gallery. Victor rarely misses an opportunity to strike when his enemies show weakness. For weeks, he has remained unusually silent while Nick's legal battle dominated the headlines. But Victor understands that timing is everything. The moment Matt begins losing control of the narrative, Victor instructs his legal team to push harder. They begin investigating Matt's business history, financial dealings, and past rivalries. Victor suspects that Matt has made enemies who might be willing to reveal damaging information. If Victor finds the right leverage, he could completely dismantle Matt's credibility. Outside the courtroom, Nick struggles to rebuild his relationships with the people closest to him. One emotional moment unfolds during a private conversation with Sharon Newman. Sharon finally confronts Nick about his choices. She asks him the question that everyone else has been thinking, but no one dared to say directly. Why did he risk everything for revenge? Nick admits that he allowed anger and pride to control his decisions. He believed he was protecting his family, but he now realizes that his actions only created more damage. Sharon listens carefully. Although she feels disappointed, she also sees genuine regret in Nick's eyes. That moment opens the door for possible forgiveness. Just when the trial seems balanced between both sides, another shocking twist emerges. Nick's legal team uncovers a hidden audio recording that could completely reshape the case. The recording captures a private conversation between Matt and one of his associates. In the conversation, Matt appears to admit that he intentionally allowed Nick's plan to develop so he could later expose him. The implication is devastating. If the court accepts the recording as legitimate evidence, Matt's credibility could collapse instantly. However, Matt's lawyers challenge the recording immediately. They argue that the audio may have been edited or taken out of context. The judge orders a forensic review of the recording to determine its authenticity. The entire courtroom waits anxiously for the results. Back in Genoa City, the trial dominates every headline and conversation. Business leaders, journalists, and ordinary residents all debate the same question. Is Nick a reckless man who let revenge control him? Or did Matt orchestrate a calculated trap designed to destroy the Newman family? Opinions remain sharply divided. Some people believe Nick must face consequences for his actions, regardless of Matt's role. Others argue that Matt's manipulation proves the entire situation was far more complicated than it first appeared. One thing becomes clear. The trial has become one of the most dramatic legal battles in Genoa City's history. After reviewing the evidence, the judge makes an important decision regarding the hidden recording. The forensic team confirms that the recording is authentic. The courtroom erupts in murmurs as the judge announces that the audio will remain part of the evidence presented in the case. Matt's expression changes immediately. For the first time since the trial began, he appears truly worried. Nick's lawyers seize the opportunity. They argue that the recording proves Matt intentionally escalated the situation to trap Nick. Although Nick made serious mistakes, they claim Matt manipulated those mistakes for personal gain. The balance of power inside the courtroom shifts dramatically. Despite the new evidence, the case is far from finished. Nick still faces serious accusations regarding his original revenge scheme. Even if Matt manipulated the situation, the court must decide whether Nick's actions violated the law. The judge prepares to hear final arguments from both sides. Matt's lawyers insist that Nick initiated the entire conflict and must face consequences. Nick's defense team argues that Matt's manipulation makes the accusations unreliable. The tension inside the courtroom becomes almost unbearable. Before the final verdict approaches, Victor speaks privately with Nick once again. This time, his tone is different. Victor admits that Nick may escape the worst legal consequences if the court believes Matt manipulated the situation. But he also delivers a powerful warning. Victor tells his son that revenge always carries a price. Even if Nick avoids prison, the scandal will leave permanent scars on his reputation and relationships. Victor reminds him that true power comes from control, not anger. Nick listens carefully. For the first time in this entire ordeal, he begins to understand his father's lesson. As the trial nears its conclusion, Genoa City waits anxiously. The judge prepares to deliver a decision that could determine Nick's future. Will Nick Newman walk away from the courtroom a free man? Will Matt face consequences for manipulating the situation? Or will both men suffer the fallout of a revenge battle that spiraled out of control? Fans of The Young and the Restless know one thing for certain. In Genoa City, the drama never truly ends. And the final twist in Nick Newman's story may still be waiting just around the corner.